In my book here, The Why Whisperer, I created a model which I call the 6 C's of strategy implementation and team alignment. So, what are the 6 C's? The first one is very simple: clear communication. So, being able to talk about your strategy, explain your plans, explain your vision in simple words.
Hey everyone, it's Jenn Foster here with Elite Expert Insider, and I am excited today because we have an author here, Hans Lagerweij. Not
I
quite
think it's very
as
good.
Dutch, but we're excited to have Hans here. He has the new book, The Why Whisperer. It offers leaders a practical path to double-digit growth and team alignment. So we're really excited to dive in to how we can help our teams get aligned and get your strategy done, as well as some of his expertise and his knowledge on travel and living in 8 different countries. So, welcome, Hans.
Thank you. And compliments for how you pronounce my last name. I know it's difficult.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, my ancestors are from Germany, but I don't know in Dutch or German. I don't know how to speak any of those languages. Welcome and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into working for major corporations and branding, and just give us a little bit of backstory.
Yes, sure. I'm originally from the Netherlands, of course, a very small country, which means that from a young age you're already raised and developed to look outside of our borders because the country is so small. So I in the end ended up living and working in 8 different countries in the world, which I think is a great experience. The first 10 years of my career, I worked in fast moving consumer goods, building brands, which was a great experience, a great, almost I would say, learning school indeed. How to build brands, how to communicate with potential customers, etc.
Yeah, and some pretty big brands like Sara Lee, and what are some of the other ones?
Yeah, Kimberly Clark. Yeah. And after that, it was almost 10 years, 9 years, I started asking myself, is there more in the world than toilet paper, diapers, shoe polish, deodorants, etc.? I found that in the travel or a little bit broader hospitality industry. A Dutch guy from a small country, I traveled a lot. I love traveling. Suddenly, I was had an opportunity to sell and market a product that I had a lot of passion for myself. So
Mhm.
yeah, I worked for TUI Travel, managed several companies for them, started also managing companies with ships, with small cruise ships. And from that, moved into other roles, moved around UK, Canada, US, Denmark, even part time in Saudi Arabia. Quite a diverse background. In a couple of years, I've got my own consultancy company here in Miami, and I advise companies how to accelerate their revenue growth. So commercial strategies in that sense.
Yeah. And so tell us, where out of all of the countries that you've lived, where was your favorite to live?
Phew, I probably should say here in Miami.
Miami.
No,
US.
there's a lot of misconceptions about Miami. Oh, the weather is always great. This week, actually, the weather was not great in Miami.
What's your-
But what I really love about this place is how diverse it is. Yes, it is known for all partying and bars and restaurants and clubs and beaches. But to me, just the area has so much more to offer. Incredible museums, incredible culture, incredible nature so close by.
Mhm.
I really enjoy it here every day.
Yeah, and good food, ceviche, and all the things, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I lived in Canada for a couple of years in Vancouver, and that's what I loved about Vancouver was the diversity and meeting
Yeah.
different people from different parts of the country. And just I was grew up in a small place too, Wyoming. There's not much diversity, so going to Vancouver was good for me and eye opening to see other cultures and understand people.
Yeah, I have to say, I also lived in Toronto for 5 years,
Yeah.
and it's also a fantastic city. And
Yes.
what I love about Toronto is actually the seasons. I'm someone that loves the summers, but I can also really enjoy the winters and winter sports.
Yes. Awesome. So those are the countries you've lived in, and now let's talk a little bit about travel. So out of all the places that you've traveled to, where's your favorite place to visit?
It's definitely Antarctica. So I was very lucky to manage a company that took customers to Antarctica. And it's the last remote wilderness on Earth, and it's just mind blowing.
Yeah, I can imagine. And all the different wildlife and things there.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
fantastic. And,
Yeah.
and it's also probably an destination that really changed me as a person and has been actually in some way an influence for my book.
Yeah. Let's get into the book. So, The Why Whisperer. Tell us, like, why you first wanted to write the book. What made you think, okay, I'm going to write this book and it's going to be about leadership and teams? What made you decide to do that?
Well, so honestly, I never really thought about writing a book, but let's just bridge that point that I just made about Antarctica. So when I managed this company, it was Quark Expeditions in Toronto, Canada. Actually, I went, of course, with the company on a trip to Antarctica because I had to understand the product. Maybe I was not very lucky on that trip because we ended up in a huge storm with hurricane winds,
Mhm.
and we were on a small vessel, just 120 passengers in the most remote area of the world, and hit by this quite dangerous storm.
Mhm.
And the captain and expedition leader at that time, the two of them, of course very experienced, they decided to hide for that storm in a place called Deception Island, which is actually it's an inactive volcano. Inactive at the moment, it could get active. And I thought, as a young guy, like, oh, at the end of the world, hurricane type of storm, and we're going to hide in a volcano. What possibly can go wrong?
Yeah.
Um, but it made me think. So I've got here a team that needs to take care of the passengers, needs to keep them safe first, most important. Secondly, still needs to entertain them, make it a fun experience. And I have my office in Toronto, Canada, a long way from home. And
Far away.
yeah, and the other thing is, at that time, there was not even a really good internet. You could not just go on a Zoom call.
Yeah.
So it made me start asking questions. How do I manage them? How do I align them? How do I motivate them? And that became a basis for the book now, what's it, 14 years later.
Yeah, and that experience can do that to you for sure. And so tell us a little bit of the insight on how do you get your team aligned, or how do you get leaders to how do you get a leader to learn how to get your team aligned to help the
Yes.
company grow?
So I've always been a fan of very pragmatic models that are easy to remember. And I still remember as a student myself, I loved the 5 P's of marketing from, was it Kotler? Because it was so easy to remember. And so I created in my book here, The Why Whisperer, I created a model which I call the 6 C's of strategy implementation and team alignment. So, what are the 6 C's? The first one is very simple: clear communication. So, being able to talk about your strategy, explain your plans, explain your vision in simple words. And that's not a 100-page PowerPoint because you will lose 90% of your team after slide 5. So, in my book, I give a lot of examples on how to communicate strategies and keep them simple and relevant. Now, then
Mhm.
the second C is consistent reinforcement. And for me, here is that strategy becomes a daily habit. It's not an annual event, it's not a PowerPoint. It should be integrated in the daily work and life of the teams. And I give several ideas and examples on how to do that.
Mhm.
The third one is cultural alignment. So now we talk about culture. Strategy is the what, culture is the how. And if your culture doesn't allow for things like healthy conflict, etc., your strategy is already dead on arrival.
Right.
So then the fourth C is continuous improvement. And with that, I mean that uh, implementing strategies is, again, it's not a one-time event that you prepare for months and then you start implementing it. Then you're simply too slow in today's marketplace. It is really about putting things in the market, evaluate, improve. And I give also several pragmatic examples of that.
And I
Um,
think that's key right there, because a lot of times people won't go back like to evaluate something. They just keep moving forward, and then you don't ever improve because you're just doing it over and over again and never evaluating the good and the bad of it.
yes, or what I see is that companies spend months and months to create something that is perfect, but then once it is there, it's already outdated. So yeah, that was the fourth C. The fifth C is collaborative engagement. So now we talk about teamwork, about involving teams with the strategy. And I think it's very important that everyone is involved. And now today with technology, with AI, it is possible, even if you're working in an employee company, to involve everyone. And then the last C, very important, often forgotten, and the most fun part is celebrate successes. And this is really about not treating your plan as a marathon, but celebrate with the team every mile.
Yeah.
And when you talk about celebrating, people quickly think about big, huge parties, big bonuses.
Yeah.
But celebrating successes can be small. It can be a cake or even a high five. It can
Mhm.
be small, but they're so important.
Yes. I actually have a sign in my house that says live, dream, celebrate, and love.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of people do the live, laugh, love, but mine's live, dream, celebrate, love, because I've always thought about that celebration. And it's really important to celebrate. I think as entrepreneurs and business owners and even leaders, you forget sometimes to celebrate just even the small wins, right?
Exactly.
And thinking about that, I know one of the books, I can't remember the name of the book right now, but one of the books I read one time said before you fall asleep every night, you have to say the three wins that happened that day or write them down and then think about the three things you wanted to have happen the next day. But then at least every day you're thinking about the wins that happened that day. Because there's always
Exactly.
something. Maybe.
And it's so funny. I was a couple months ago. I was on a management meeting of a company that I advised, and the company was not doing that great in the months before, but things were improving, and they were presenting like, "Oh, we had a good week last week," and I said, "No, we didn't have a good week. We had a record week. Where's the celebration? It was the highest revenue of the company ever." And people were they didn't realize that it's a
Yeah,
milestone.
they're just like, oh, it was good. It was all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Instead of, yeah, it was a record. It was really needed to be celebrated.
yeah,
Yeah. I think celebration is key when it comes to leadership and in any business, big or small, for
exactly.
sure. For sure. So tell us a little bit about, let's dive into some of the publishing aspects of your book. Did you self-publish or did you hire a publisher?
Yeah, I hired a publisher.
Okay, good.
So also to do all the technical parts, the editing, the layout, I really use professionals to do so.
Yeah, it's important to do that. That's really good. I always like to ask that question because some people do a combination of both or they use a traditional publisher. But yeah, and then how did you write your book? Did you type it or did you talk it or has it been like writing for many years or kind of how did you come up with your content of your book?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So, what I used to do before, I like to write little knowledge and publish them. And these blogs are either about leadership or strategy or brand building or the industry, hospitality that I work in. So, I love to do that. And at some point, I started with a blog. The idea was a blog about one of the topics of my book. And when I was done writing, it was 8 pages, and that's way too long for a blog. So I thought, yeah, that's simply not good, and I'm not cutting it down. So I put that aside, and then um, I started with the idea, oh, maybe it is a bit bigger than I thought it was. So I started doing to do some more research into strategy implementation, and found shocking data. 95% of the employees in the world globally have no clue what the strategy of the company is that they work for. 95,
Wow.
and there's more of these shocking facts that I found. So I started to create a fact base. I had these 8 pages, and at that time the idea came to write a book. But then, of course, there's always excuses like, oh, no time. And suddenly I thought the time was there. I was sitting in, I've got a cottage in the Poconos, and I thought, let's just write it. And I started talking with people about I want to write this book, and very funny reactions. What is the book about? Yeah, strategy. Oh, that's boring. So like, no, strategy should be exciting. It cannot be boring. And then I heard the reactions like, oh, that's theoretical. No, I don't like being theoretical. I like
Theory.
to be
Yeah.
practical. And then someone gave me a tip saying, Hans, don't write little piece by little piece and take 6 to 12 months. Just lock yourself up in your room for a few days and knock out the main story, the main text, and then start improving and building it. And that's what I did. And that really helped. It was a great piece of advice.
Yeah, that is a really good piece of advice for writing. And I'm glad that you got it all done in one little shot, and then you can just improve it and have the editor or book coach help you to finish it up.
Exactly. And I did it. It was written in a week, but then the improvement took probably 6 months, sharing it with people and giving first criticism and
Yeah.
building on that. So it's a great piece of advice. If everyone wants ever to write a book, just it is in your head, just put it down on paper, lock yourself up, and then take your time to make it really good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about your title. Why did you choose Why Whisper? What-
Yes.
Tell us what
So of course, I had quite some influencers on authors. Covey was one of them, but also very important, it's Simon Sinek.
yeah, the why.
Yeah, of course. And I talk in my book about direction, and direction for me is the why, purpose, vision, mission, and strategy. So it is a little bit broader, and it is broader than why. And after reading Simon's book, and this is a long time ago, I thought, oh, this is brilliant. But now, how would you do it? How would you implement it? It's great to say what you should do, but how? I used a little bit then his words, the why. It is bigger. And the whisperer, and of course, whisperer has a lot of meanings, and you have baby whisperers and dog whisperers in the world. But I thought that whisper was also the right word because what a lot of leaders unfortunately do is they try to shout out their strategy, shout the plans, and then they think the louder, the better it will
And it's almost
be.
like forceful. It's like,
Yes, and I thought whisperer is the right word. Whisperer means in order to whisper my strategy to you, I need to be very close to you.
yeah.
And that's what you need to be successful in aligning team. You need to be close to your teams. So this is how the title, The Why Whisperer, came up. But then, because I thought it doesn't explain exactly then what it's about, so then the second title, very pragmatic, how to motivate and align teams that get your strategy done.
Yes. And the subtitle is key because those are the keywords and the why. What am I going to get from this book and why do I want to read it? So I love that you put that in there because a lot of times people do a silly subtitle that doesn't make sense, but yours, it will attract the right reader. So
Yes.
it's really good. And then tell us what has happened since your book has been published. So how long has it been out?
It's now out for, yeah, what is it? It was summer last year. So it's now out
Almost like
seven, eight
not
months.
quite, not quite a year. And
Yeah, yeah.
what has happened since you have become an author?
A lot has happened. Of course, when you issue a book, so the publisher asks, "Oh, you need to get blurbs, you need to get endorsements." And I'm like, oh, so I started writing to some people and who were interested in the topic. And what I was so proud of was that one of my endorsers is me, Covey Junior, and
So,
his father has been seriously probably next to Simon my number one, yeah, leadership author and
yeah,
influencer.
Stephen
So
Covey, yeah.
and there's more, quite some thought leaders that endorsed my book, and another one that I was very proud of. So in the United States you have the Virtuoso Travel Agent Network, the luxury travel advisors, and yeah, Virtuoso's CEO and son of the founder Matthew the book. So it starts off with very good endorsements, then you publish the book, and yeah, I got quite some interviews, podcasts out of it, and even now a management magazine, I will not share the name, has asked me to write a little article about my book for their publication.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, quite the interest. And then in the end, of course, it is about what readers think about it. I can proudly say I've only seen 5-star reviews, nothing lower,
Yeah.
and also got personal feedback from around my network. One entrepreneur here in Miami said, Hans, I never want to do an MBA, that theory is not for me. Uh, but your book, it's just 120 pages. I understood every word of it. I think everything is useful, practical. I will really start using it. And I thought, oh, that's for me the biggest compliment.
Yes, I love that. And the 5-star reviews are key. So getting good reviews and That's excellent that you have all 5 stars. So that's excellent. Wonderful. Yeah, I love that a book can do so much for you because you already have had and will still have an amazing career, but having a book amplifies that. So now you're an expert, but you're also an author, and that helps with a lot of different things. So now
Yeah,
currently you're consulting and you're still working with some travel companies. So
correct.
tell
Yes.
us, like, what's next? What's next for you?
So I'm pretty busy with my consultancies, but what is a personal objective for this year is to do more speaking engagements. And yeah, one personal ambition is to do a TED Talk this year. I'm in discussion with a committee, so yeah, let's
Good.
see if that materializes.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, I know my business partner did a TEDx talk and she really enjoyed that and it was a fun experience. So I know you'll really enjoy having a TED talk.
Yeah, and that everything that you do this way, so write a book, talk about your book, it actually has led to new customers for me, and actually new customers outside hospitality. And
Mhm.
yeah, that was really an achievement because I put myself in the market as a hospitality consultant, but yeah, now half of my business is outside and I actually love it. It's new experiences. Everyone should look for new experiences to keep learning and developing.
Yes. I love that. What's one last piece of advice or something you'd want to tell the audience, the entrepreneurs and business owners that are listening?
Yeah. So your strategy is really only as good as the belief that your team, people, your team attach to it. If you spend all your time writing that perfect strategy, but your team doesn't feel it, your team doesn't believe in it, you waste your time.
Hmm.
And I've even said this, and people call me crazy, but you can better have a bad strategy that is well implemented than a brilliant strategy that is badly executed. Why? Because a bad execution leads to frustration, to irritation, to negativity in your team, and that could cause a complete negative spiral in the company.
For sure. Thank you so much for all your words of wisdom. Tell people where they can go to get more information or where they can find your book.
Yes, of course, you can find my book on all the famous retailers. Everyone knows Amazon. And that's easy to find. You just type in the Why Whisperer. Then you can find more information about me on my personal website. Now, the challenge with that is that you need to know how to spell my name. So it's www.hanslagerwij.com. Now, I've got an easy shortcut. I'm also on LinkedIn, and there's not many other people that have this last name. So it should be easy to find me on LinkedIn.
Yes, and I can spell that for those who are listening. Hans Lagerweij, so it's Lagerwej. Is it IJ?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Dutch. So make sure that you spell that. But you can
Yeah,
find him also in the show notes of this podcast, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes. You can find it in the show notes as well.
great.
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Hans, for being on the show today. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you think that you know someone who would benefit from listening, please share the podcast as well. And we hope you subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.